It's another post-match show from the Glenbuck after Liverpool won. Bad see you ever. Burnley, another B1. I've got Will Arnett, I've got Ben Johnson, I've got John Bishop, and John, it's 12 unbeaten. That's my least favourite one of the 12.
That's your least favourite one?
Of the 12 unbeaten.
I think Wolves. Wolves with hard work.
Yeah, but they won that one.
I know, but it was hard work. The last 6 minutes was like people whistling for the last 6 minutes, hanging on against Wolves.
Bottom of the league, Wolves.
You know what I mean? You think, Jesus, it's like when you're sort of going for one last night out before a divorce. You think it's not worth it.
I feel like we've started ranking our worst days now, haven't we? How we turn this into this? Is that the worst of the 12? Have you got one you want to? I mean, fucking hell, Fulham was shit the way they scored late. If we want to,
I think that was the worst of the unbeaten run. As ridiculous as that sounds, because I just wanted to kill everyone on the pitch, apart from Wirtz, maybe. I just think we're playing defensive football against basically shite at home.
I think mass murder's not the answer, though.
I don't know.
It really is.
Let's give it a go and see how we get on.
Well, I did check just before that you've been before.
Yeah.
I didn't want that to be your first game. You've been twice before.
I'm still unbeaten at Anfield. I want the record to reflect that.
Yeah.
I agree. The Fulham was super frustrating, but today had its own kind of frustration. Because it was just the missed chances, just unable to finish. Their goaltender was pretty good, I got to say. They made some big saves, but also they just those close calls and. Soberslide hitting the crossbar, all that stuff. That to me is almost more frustrating than that Fulham match. Cause
it is. It's one of those things. It's frustrating because, as you say, if the penalty gone in, you go 2-0 up. The one cleared off the line, you go 3-0 up. You sort of all feel difference, but then you've got to remember who we're playing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You're thinking we're scraping results against sides that, if you're the champions, not even if you're not the champions. If you're a Liverpool side playing the Liverpool way, you're not grateful it's 12 unbeaten. You're asking why we haven't won 10 of the 12.
Yeah, that's it. I was tongue-in-cheek when I said the 12 unbeaten bad because it isn't good enough. And you can look at the chances we created, you look at the times when you're unlucky, but I don't want it to come down to look against Burnley at home. In American sports, they wouldn't even let them play. Do you know what I mean? They wouldn't let them in the league. They wouldn't let them join in, and we're drawing against them and going, if only that penalty would have clipped the bar and gone in. It's not good enough.
I think what's most worrying for me is that there's just times where, we're used to Liverpool pressing teams and Anfield being horrible to play at. Anfield being a horrible place to play. Burnley have turned up there and done really what they wanted. Do you know what I mean? They got the game they wanted. The keepers made some good saves. Liverpool should have won. But they haven't come out of there saying that's horrible. Don't want to go there again. They've come out of it like they grew in stature in the second half. But almost the better side.
I know, but people are coming knowing how to play against us. Yeah. They're coming to saying get behind the ball. They're not going to try and they're not going to do anything inventive. They'll try and weave their way through.
They're not going to box you in.
And they're not. Small little passes. They look great if you're playing five-a-side with your mates. But the amount of times, have a frigging shot. Just have a shot and it might bounce off someone's ass. It might go over the bar, but it'll lift the crowd. It'll make them think something's about to happen. Whereas it is now, you just think it's all right. Just hold back. Suppose it's going to go sideways, then it's come back to the Frimpong, then it's going to go across. I've bumped into, but afterwards I bumped into Phil Neal. And so when you're talking to any of the ex-pros, and particularly the lads who have won everything, and you sort of shake your head, and he just said, I think having a shot has been banned. And again, it's that bit where you go, all right, it's gone to precision football, and football's not a precise game. You need as soon as you make a movement, the other side will change. But if you don't make a movement, you don't do anything dynamic. You're just a block for them to defend against in their block.
Did it feel different from you from last time you've come? Did the crowd feel edgier? Did it feel a bit more nervy? Yeah. I'm just thinking of times when we've been drawing games and got into stoppage time. You think, Liverpool will win this, but it didn't feel like there was that expectation today that Liverpool were to go on and win it.
Yeah, a little bit. There was sort of on what you were saying about this idea that they didn't feel intimidated to come and play at Anfield. And this is my first game that I've seen with Slot in charge, and there was always that feeling with those teams, those previous teams, that at any point they could really hurt you, and that the teams were nervous, that they were worried that they were going to get caught, that the inevitable was that Liverpool was going to come on, they were going to pressure you, even if the other team happened to have possession, that they were going to lose it at any point, that they were always on their heels, and they didn't feel like they were on their heels. And so it did feel different. You could sense that even John a couple times going, oh no, you know what I mean? And nothing's really happening yet. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think, but they get 1-0 up, and that's frustrating as well, Ben, because they're not great first half. I think they're okay. They're okay first half. They obviously get a bit of a soft penalty, they then miss it. They get the goal, and you think, here we go. Let's have a nice 2-0. The lads are coming to Glenbuck after this will be nice 2-0. I mean, we've seen them wins before where you're not amazing, but they come, you get a goal in each half, you win the game. Their goal was coming a little bit. We invited the pressure on and we let them in, and then we didn't know to react.
And I'd say he had a shot at his own fucking keeper. That was good, really. I like that bit. But yeah, it was coming, and I think my frustration is what was so good about Tiny's Liverpool last year is they rode like the sort of moments of the game. They went 1-0 up, they'd score again. They keep the ball, they minimise people's chances. This version, go a goal ahead, and then they're like, Christ, we can't get beat. And so everything's about preserving the lead. And, there's times in that first half, Szoboszlai breaks. Just before half time, we break, there's 4-on-3. Szoboszlai's got the ball, he doesn't play it, he holds it, he stutters on it for ages. Yeah. On the halfway line, Slot clapped him.
Yeah.
Slot clapped him. The rest of the crowd's going to see it.
That's odd how much he slowed down the play like that and stopped their own momentum.
Yeah.
Even somebody who's not as well versed in it, you see it.
You could see Frimpong was free, was on. And you're thinking, what we would expect of our midfield is we're on a break, bang, get up there, and he slowed it down, and it's just like, and that's the bit that's frustrating.
Do you think that's because he feels more of a sense of responsibility in his own mind that like he's the key guy now, so now he has to do it because he wasn't as much before, and now he
I think a little bit. I think the manager's put some faith in him, and I think he's playing out the manager's game plan. So the manager said we don't want to stretch the game. You win a 1-0, keep the ball.
Don't want it too open.
We don't want it too open.
And also, if they get too open, that plays right into Burnley's hoping that they get a mismatch, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So he's just protecting. But as they say in American football, a defense prevents you from winning.
Yeah.
It's frustrating.
Sorry to bring up American football. I'm not a huge fan.
I would rather watch American football. I'd like to watch this Liverpool team play American football.
I mean, I'm coming to your film today. I'm gutted I'm missing the Bills, to be honest with you. I want to watch that. But look, we're going to do some on the film because, guys, I don't want to talk about that for too much more. But it is just frustrating. Johnny, you've had a season ticket for a long time, You want to see them give everything. There was a little period, 80 to 83, I think it was, where we were having a bit of a go, and then the crowd got really up, and you're like, oh, it's funny, isn't it? When they have a go, we have a go when it all comes, and then someone had a shit shot, and it all stops.
To be fair, like there's times today in the crowd where it felt like the crowd were going like, oh, we'll take it on, we'll start singing when there's nothing really to sing, and we'll get it going. It felt like that a little bit more than our other games, because everyone's trying to find an answer. Like, these aren't bad players. This is not a bad team. But they seem to have been playing a stifled format. They seem to have been told, look, unless everyone's had a touch, no one can shoot. Unless we're all in their half, no one can get in their box. It's like, just fucking let them go.
Again, I don't know as much about it as you guys do tactically, but it felt like a few times there were opportunities where they could have, just taken a shot on goal from a little further out. Yeah. Like there were moments where that felt, and then they make a pass. And I'm thinking, why are you doing that? Put them under pressure. Take that shot. Especially again, Szoboszlai had a couple opportunities, and we know that he knows how to hit the ball, right? And I was surprised, and maybe there's some logic to it that I don't know.
Yeah.
He's overestimating our technical knowledge there, isn't he?
I don't know.
Is it still be great for you to come though? You said it's your third time. You live out in LA. Just to come and be at Anfield, like, I know they've looked after you today.
First of all, don't paint me with the LA brush.
That's where you live.
I'm Canadian.
I know, but that's where you live. But just to be here, must still be pretty special. Even if the team didn't do the business.
It's so great. I mean, I find it to be so magical, and I did bring a friend of mine who's with me from LA, and he was just blown away when you see it through the eyes of somebody who's coming here for the first time, and just seeing how much of the community is part of it. It's not just in America, sports is a lot different. There's so much sponsorship and breakup in the play and whatever. Here, everybody's singing. There's something about, you're in Anfield and everybody's singing "You Never Walk Alone." It's magical. It gives you goosebumps. It does me. I think it's really special. It's like nothing else.
Well, lucky aren't we, John? It doesn't feel like it today. It doesn't feel like it today, but
I know, but that's the thing about football, and I think as Liverpool supporters as well. That's the thing we've got to remember. You take success not for granted, but as an expectation, and you measure things against your expectations. And the reality is, this team's not going to perform what it did last year. But last year we lived a dream last year, and we've done that for a few years. And it'll ebb and flow, and it'll dip and dive. But the crazy thing about it, we talk about it like there's an existential threat, like we need to fix the problem. We'll be here next week. You'll be here next week. You know what I mean? We're not going anywhere. It's like a marriage you'll never get divorced from. You think, all right then.
By the way, and if things go too smoothly, there's less to talk about.
Exactly. It's the passion, it's the joy.
No worries about that.
If they were winning 5-0 every game, you'd be like, oh, well, that was another good one.
I think the team's evolving. A lot of questions, whether it's Slot's way of playing, whether he's got all the cards in his armoury that he wants, all that stuff. But as supporters, I was in town this morning because we stayed in town last night, and you see people early doors when you only come to the ground. You don't see the people who have come the night before with the kids, and they're walking around town at 9 o'clock with kids with scarves on and all that. And it means so much to people, and I think we should never ever forget that. I think what this football club represents needs to be reflected on the pitch, and it's not at the moment. It's become a tactical game, and we're more about passion than that.
I completely agree with that, Ben. That's my concern with the manager. Is I don't think he's trying to get the team to do what we want, and you might say, well, who are you? But it's the collective us. Do you know what I mean? It's a city that values hard work. It's a city that values passion, as John just said. It's a city that values fucking making life difficult for other people.
Yeah.
We're narcs, and this team's too nice. And there was, when we were making big and free subs on, I did the Phoenix Nights joke. Have you seen Phoenix Nights? It's excellent. When they come on, I said, how far away are they? They're tiny, the lads. What are they going to do? Do you know what I mean? We need to find a way for the team to represent what we're after more.
I mean, it's like what happened last week with Martinelli. Neil and Conor Bradley. I mean, if Graham Souness was to have been playing, he'd have knocked his jaw, broke his jaw. The lads went over and go, and you're like, no, come on. This is what I mean. I'm not talking about violence. What I mean is you want to see passion. You don't want to see mental arithmetic.
Well, if that was the Toronto Maple Leaf hockey game, Martinelli his shirt would be off, and the guy would fill him in.
But the manager was sound about him, and he was about Harvey Elliott.
I think my concern about the manager, I worry that I think you're right. I worry that he's creating a style of football that doesn't mirror what everyone wants. So he's running out of supporters fast because
no one who's completely got his back. No. I was saying this to the other Ben outside.
This is insane. Yeah, he's a league-winning manager.
Rafa, people fell out with Rafa, but there was literally people fighting him in the cop. We were together talking about it. Sorry, people were fighting under the cop like Rafa. People were saying, "Fuck, how can you say that about him? He's won the European Cup. He's this, he's that." Who's fighting for Arnett?
Everyone's very indifferent, and I think
that's a problem.
I think it even stems. I just think, Jürgen was such a perfect match for the city in terms of the style of football. He got it so much that you've almost spoiled everyone that comes after. And Arnie had a bit of that last year. but also was winning games every week, so was forgiven when the football was a little bit slow and not as intensive, because it didn't matter, because we might win the league here, and then we did, and it was amazing. This year, when it's not as sort of us against the world, and you know we're going to win our battles, and we're going to you know get the crowds up, we're going to win all these horrible tackles, we're going to press teams in. When that's not happening, all of a sudden you're looking at sort of supporters for that style of football, and like it's not for me.
No,
you know at all.
Listen, you guys are in town because there's a film about your life, John. Well, it's based on your life, and it's starring Mr. Will Arnett. So I do want to talk about that, because to be honest, I'm sick of talking about the Reds. But that's why you're in town. It is an incredible story. I knew about the story before this, and it's one of them stories, Mel, where you say someone should make a film about that. And Bradley Cooper has it. It's incredible.
That's exactly what happened. I met John. We met in a social setting, and he told me his story himself of how he started doing stand-up comedy, and I was just sort of blown away by it. And we left, and I kept thinking about it for days and days. And I reached out to my friend Mark Chappell, who's the one who turned me into a Liverpool supporter, by the way. And I said, do you know John's story? He said, oh, it's the most amazing story. I said, I just met him, and I think that we might be able to convince him to let us write a movie. And so I said, convince or trick. I can't remember which one I said. But either way, and just the story of it is incredible. And so we went to John, and we started writing. And then somewhere along the way, we also, Bradley jumped on Cooper. He's an old friend, and he was also taken with the story, and really thought that we could sort of elevate it and make it even better, and that's how it happened. And yeah.
Do you want to tell the true story, the real story, quickly, because it is amazing?
Well, no, the true story is I should have played for Liverpool.
You would have had a shot. You would have had a shot.
Right to put it tackle.
If it had been a good film, that's what would have ended it. I'd have been coming on now with 10 minutes to go scoring the winner. No, I was basically a very positive version of it is that I got married to Melanie in Manchester for my sins. We had 3 kids, and then we just drifted apart and split up. And then one night I was walking past the Frog and Bucket in Manchester, and I literally was just depressed because I didn't have the kids that night. I thought I'd go to a comedy club. I'd only been to 2 my whole life before, so I had no interest in it. But you're paid to get in unless you put your name down. And I said, put your name down for what? And he said, well, if your name gets called out, you go on stage. And it was £4, that's all. But I was getting divorced, so I thought, well, that's £4 she's not getting. So put my name down, got called up second. And and you see in the film, Will represents it brilliantly in the film. I didn't know what to do. You're dazzled by the lights, and I just went, I think I'm getting divorced. And then it started talking about that, and started going back, and it grew and grew and grew. But the thing that makes it, if you like, movie worthy is the fact that about 6 months later, I told no one. I didn't tell any of my mates. I didn't want anyone to know I was doing it. And then 6 months later, I got a phone call because someone had dropped out to see if I would fill in at the Frog and Bucket. So I'm on stage, and I used to do this joke saying, tell all the girls I was single, really. I used to say, I'm a bit sad at the moment because me and my wife aren't together. And they go, no, it's not that, but we're not divorced or anything. I've just killed her. But I knew I was going to miss her, so I've kept her head in the fridge. And that was my joke. And I got announced on stage. I said that joke. I looked to the left. The head that was meant to be in the fridge was sat in the audience. And what had happened, she'd got a new job that I knew nothing about. And she'd come on a works do for someone's birthday. She didn't know I did comedy. They didn't even know my name. So when I get announced on stage, she goes, what the bro? They had no idea who I was. And then she came over at the end, we got talking, and she just said, like, it was good to see you being the person you used to be.
It is amazing. It's an amazing story, and I think I agree with John. You play really well. I've watched the first half an hour, and there's a reason for that.
That's enough.
No, it's not. I would have loved because I've been kindly invited to come tonight. So if I want to watch on the big screen, but I watched first half an hour to get a flavour because I knew you were coming. And I think you are terrific in it. And the things that comes across to me is that it starts so low, you can see how sort of low you are. And normally in these films, they ease you in a little bit. But you're straight away like that broken man. And it's not this big, my wife's cheating on me. It's not this big like, oh, we've had these big vows. It's something a lot of us can recognise is that we're just done here. Who's the first person going to say it?
Yeah, well, that's one of those things. We wanted to make the film feel really authentic and genuine and something that anybody could relate to. I always say, oftentimes, you break up on a Wednesday afternoon. It's not always people yelling and throwing clothes out the window in some dramatic scene. It just happens in the most sort of banal way that it's even more depressing if you think about it.
Yeah, you don't know what starts there. I mean, fuck, we've stayed together ever since, but I brought her the match today. That might split us up.
She said Arnie was sound.
No, I've got to watch this shit with you.
I know. I was surprised to read that you'd never done stand-up comedy before because you're a comedy actor. I always just assumed, you probably started in stand-up, but you've never done it. But you made yourself have a go because you wanted to feel what it was like to get up yourself on stage and be brave like he was. Brave Skins.
Yeah. That was a really important part, that not only to try to do stand-up because I had never done it, but to also try, and of course I've been a performer, but to try to go and do that in a way that was authentic to a guy who had never done it before, to understand what that experience was like. And so when we were pre-production for about 6 weeks, I was going up every night a few times a night. And near the end, right before we started shooting, John came over, and I got to do stand-up before him a couple times, which was such a thrill. Such a thrill.
And it's a mad thing about it. Like when an actor does something that's not their normal thing to represent a story, they don't normally get to do, Sylvester Stallone never actually played football in goal. You know what I mean? He did an Escape to Victory. But he did stand-up in proper clubs to paying punters. So it was as real as it's ever going to get. And that immediacy, you can see it in the film.
I love it. I love that part of it. You've got a great voice for stand-up. I think you should carry it on.
Thank you.
That sort of gravelly thing.
Thank you.
Just before we finish, and I know you need to get off the film show tonight, I'm coming, but I love the little nod to Liverpool. You're in the bathroom, you just start singing that Liverpool song, and I was like, was that something you wanted to put in? Was that something that John wanted to put in?
That was me. That was something that I did. It was part of my, I'll tell you a little secret, it was part of my prep as we were preparing and doing all these workshops and stuff, working with Laura Dern and the great Laura Dern and Bradley Cooper. And part of the preparation was doing work on the character, and we started talking about safe place and all this kind of things, and something that makes, so as we were doing, it had really nothing to do with the film, but more for me talking about something that made me feel good. And something that made me feel good was that song, because it reminds me of watching Liverpool football, which I really enjoy. So we're shooting that scene, and I went into the bathroom, and I said that, and Bradley was operating the camera, and he was my old friend, and he's like, sing it. And so it's just the two of us. And I just, in that moment of this guy who's doing something that he's really scared and whatever, and I just started singing the song. And it was fucking, that's how that happened. And then the other thing, at the end, I'm wearing the Liverpool shirt, which is my shirt. And I said to Bradley, I said, I know what I'm going to wear in this scene. And I brought my shirt from home. I told wardrobe, don't worry, I got it. And I put the shirt on. And that was the sort of the nod to John and the homage to the connection to Liverpool.
I'd seen the script and stuff, but I wasn't there at the filming, so I didn't see that bit until the film came out. When he's in the tour, he starts singing LA, LA, and I'm singing it, and it's brilliant that he's done it, the LA song. So tonight at the screen, I'm going to get him to meet Jamie Webster tonight.
Does Jamie come in?
Yeah.
He's a great guy. Just one last thing, because I wanted to say, the message of the film can't be, if you're sad, just do comedy and then you start selling out arenas. Because, do you know what I mean? Because you were a lucky bastard. You're very talented, but that can't be the message. But what it can be is find someone you love and find someone that makes you give you that spark of what you're about, because that's what you lost, and that's what you got back,
what it is.
regardless of the arenas.
There's a line in the film that sums up the film, which you haven't got to yet, because it's at the end, where he says, I wasn't happy with our marriage. I wasn't unhappy with our marriage. I was unhappy in our marriage. And that's what happens. Some people have lost themselves and think, if I break this relationship, I'll find myself. And it's not. You gotta find what makes you happy. And like you's not just talking shite to your mates. That's what makes you happy.
Yeah.
And people listen. People listen, Will.
You know.
Can you believe it? Listen, the guys need to go. Thanks for inviting us to the film. Thanks for joining us.
A lot. See you later.
Very surreal having you here in the Glenbuck. Thanks to Ben. The Reds can go fuck themselves. Nice one.